Cochin. And Mr. Jaideep is presently an aquaculture consultant and a very successful farmer. He's a shrimp farmer for doing both Venamai and Monodon. Around 100 acres, he's doing culture. Successful farmer, uh, operating out of Bapatla in AP, nearer to Ongole. In his 33 years, almost 33 years of his aquaculture experience, Mr. Jaideep has also worked with the government sector at RGCA. We call it as RGCA. That is Rajiv Gandhi Center for Aquaculture, the R&D wing of the MPDA, Marine Products Export Development Authority. Almost for around 8 years, he served with RGCA. Initially as a coordinator for RGCA, their R&D projects, and subsequently as the deputy project director, and later on he became project director in charge for RGCA also. He is also the editor and the publisher of Aquaculture magazine, Aquaculture Spectrum, a leading aquaculture magazine in India. He has authored several scientific papers and articles published in scientific journals and popular magazines. So he also authored, compiled, and edited several books, proceedings, and training manuals and handbooks for aquaculture published by RGCA or MPDA. So presently, Mr. Jaideep is also the treasurer at the Society of Aquaculture Professional in SAP, based out of Chennai. So that is the brief introduction about Mr. Jaideep. So we know him very well, and whenever we visit Ongolno, we call him, sir, to get the appointment. No, he always says that no, I am in sampling, because why I'm telling is he is involved in consultancy as well as farming. Every day, most of the day in a week, he attends sampling in the morning and evening also. So we used to meet him only in the late evening. So this is the brief introduction about Mr. Jaideep. Ravi Garu, the presentation.
Jaideep Garu, please unmute yourself and you can go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi Garu. I'll share my presentation. Okay. Firstly, let me really thank Novachem Biosciences, Mr. Punevanan, and Dr. Ravi for inviting me to speak on this topic here today. And thank you again for the very nice introduction that you gave, Mr. Punevanan. So this is a topic, much debated topic in the recent past, since monodon has been reintroduced for farming in India since 2021 with SPF stocks. So we did encounter Zoothamnium several years back as well, when all of us were doing tiger shrimp farming. And my first encounter with Zoothamnium was way back in 1995 when I was working in Magunta Aqua Farm. So like we had only one pond remaining. The entire farm was harvested. Only one pond remained. And it had a high density, like 0.6 hectare farm had over 1 lakh shrimp, about 35 per meter square. And then it had reached 30 count and nearing 30 count. And then we did not have any water to exchange. And the pond was consuming over 100 to 120 kilos per day. So the growth was good, feeding was good. And then slowly they started getting Zoothamnium. So that was the first time in my career, though I started farming in 1991, December onwards. It was during this period that we first encountered Zoothamnium. And there were no organized culture or treatment methods at that point of time. However, since we had our processing plant close by, it was harvested and they took care of that thing. So subsequently, as monodon farming grew, this started becoming a major problem. Unlike white spot where you can harvest, this one Zoothamnium is extremely difficult, especially to control during the harvest period, because the buyers are so very specific that the animal should not have any kind of protozoan infection or that is visible on the body of the animal, and any small presence they uh, uh, mark it as say 7% Zoothamnium or 10% and give only half the price for that. So farmers find it very difficult to actually deal with this Zoothamnium. So we'll just quickly look at what exactly Zoothamnium is, and then what are the methods, as the title suggests, safe control of Zoothamnium in shrimp ponds. So Zoothamnium, as Dr. Ravi said, is most farmers call it as fungus, but it is not a fungus. It is a protozoan, and it is a ciliated vase-shaped non-motile protozoan that forms branching colonies. Zoothamnium has got over the genus Zoothamnium has got over 70 species. It is found in freshwater, brackish water, and seawater as well. So, as said, even Vorticella is found to cause similar symptoms. And this is one of the most common diseases encountered in black tiger shrimp farming now, apart from like white spot, white feces, and things like that. Zoothamnium is the one that gives a lot of trouble to the farmers. As we are all aware, like when compared to Vanami, Monodon is slightly slower and less active, and then it spends more time grazing on the pond bottom. It grows to bigger sizes. The culture duration is more, and the molting frequency between the duration between two molds is bigger, especially during the later stages of culture. So it is more susceptible to being attached by Zoothamnium. So what happens to a Zoothamnium affected animal? First, it can colonize on the gills and the shells of the shrimp. When it colonizes the gills, it makes it hard for the animals to breathe. And then, like it also colonizes on the pleopods, periopods, the mouth parts, entirely on the ventral side. So the animals have difficulty in moving around, and when it infests on the antennae and on the mouth, it becomes difficult for the animal to locate, feed, and consume feed. And then because of the weight of this on the shell, it becomes difficult for the animal to molt as well. And all these factors, like unable to identify feed, unable to consume feed, all this makes the animal weak. And since it is not consuming food, it also affects the growth of the animal. Generally, it becomes, you see loose shell kind of symptoms, and then animals become weak, come to sides, and it is susceptible to cannibalism, and then they die early. So what are the conditions that make Zoothamnium actually thrive in culture ponds? So as we mentioned earlier, shrimp, especially black tiger shrimp of all stages, are affected by Zoothamnium. And one of the most important factors is your water source. So generally, creek-based farms have got more chances of developing Zoothamnium than in borewell-based farms, especially during the initial part of the culture. So it is known to thrive in ponds that contain very high organic matter, and then thick algal bloom and low DO conditions. In several cases, we also see mortality during 30 to 40 DOC when shrimp come to the sides. Farmer call it as gill choking. And this also is seen to have actually you have either Zoothamnium or Vorticella affecting the gills of the animal. So, as we mentioned, it reduces the ability of animal to pass oxygen to body tissues, causing hypoxia and ultimately death. Several cases of black gill, or not several, maybe a few cases of black gill is also on some occasions caused by Zoothamnium. And the fouling on body surface is mild during initial phase or early stages of the animal, as the molting frequency is more during this period, and it becomes more and more when the animal crosses, say, 30 grams or 30 count, when the molting frequency actually, the duration between two molts is actually high or more. So, like you have two methods. Like you can either try to prevent Zoothamnium from really affecting or affecting your ponds, or you can try to treat them also. But in my personal experience over the years, several steps, small steps that we can take in order to prevent Zoothamnium, in fact, actually helps in having a fairly good Zoothamnium-free crop, at least till harvest. So one of the most important things for preventing Zoothamnium is having adequate pond preparation to ensure that organic matter is minimized in the ponds. So apart from regular drying and plowing, if you can also try to, like, there are several scientifically managed farms who also immediately after harvesting, they fill up the pond with 1 to 1.5 feet of water, put a couple of aerators, and then add some probiotic in it, and then give continuous aeration for at least 10 days to 2 weeks. And this is found to reduce the organic matter inside the pond to a large extent. So some additional steps like these can prevent actually organic matter from accumulating in your ponds for a long period of time, which in turn can help in reducing Zoothamnium. And as everybody would have, all tiger farmers would have encountered, Zoothamnium is more problematic generally in lower salinities. So it would be a good idea to ensure that your stocking salinity is fairly high, say around 20 or 25 ppt, so that in the later part of the culture, when rain starts, your salinity doesn't really go very much down. It might be difficult in some areas, especially because people stock in February or January, and at that time the salinity in the creeks might not be high following the rains. But there are some farmers who stock at least 1 or 2 ponds, and then they transfer the seed later when the salinity is higher. And then another most important matter is to have sedimentation tanks and reservoirs in each farm. So sedimentation tank greatly reduces organic load that is present in the creek water. And then you have an option to treat the water in a reservoir before pumping into the grower ponds. In our farm, actually, we have a sedimentation tank that is about 10 feet deep, 2 acres. And then we have baffles inside the sedimentation tank. The water actually travels about half a kilometer within the tank. And then by gravity, it goes into a reservoir where we can do treatment, or by gravity, it can flow directly into the ponds. So before the water from the creek enters the pond, it is well sedimented, and then ensure that the organic matter from the creek does not really enter into your pond. So this is one good aspect that you can do to prevent Zoothamnium. And then the stocking density. High stocking density invariably invites Zoothamnium, especially during the later stages of the crop. So it is good to have, or it is advisable to have a stocking density based on the pond condition, how you have prepared the pond, the age of the pond, the aeration that is available, so that you are able to maintain optimum water quality conditions depending on the stocking density that you go for. Then stocking density can also be based on the genetics of the seed. Uh, uh, I think all tiger shrimp farmers are aware that we have two different kinds of SPF monodon seeds that is available now. So depending on their experience with the different kinds of seed, they can go for the density that is suitable for their ponds. So other preventing methods is the water quality monitoring and management. So it is very important to monitor the water quality, especially the thickness and the algal bloom. It would be good if you can ensure that the Secchi disk value is not less than 30, say if it is around 30 to 35, especially during the latter part of the crop, it would be ideal. But most of the farms which I see, it is between 15 and 20 now. So that really is a triggering factor, or is a factor that makes it difficult to control Zoothamnium once it is already there in the system. And then ensure that the DO, most farmers do not do that, but it would be good if we can monitor and maintain DO, say at least above 5 ppm during early morning all through the crop. The next factor is feed management. So as you are aware, like overfeeding is a very dangerous aspect in shrimp farming. And then you have different strains consuming, or different genetics consuming feed in different kinds of things. So it would be good if you have a large check tray, and then you manage check tray really well, and feed only according to the actual need of the animal. Any kind of excess feed or feed wastage will result in Zoothamnium becoming more dominant. And then earlier basic factors like chain dragging that we used to practice earlier, I'm not very sure if many farmers are practicing it now. This, if done on a regular basis right from the beginning of the crop, is found to actually delay the onset of Zoothamnium to a large extent. And then some other factors that you have to take into consideration during the crop is you often see white feces coming, and then you also see feed drop. So it is very important to actually identify why the feed has dropped, and then address it immediately, so that you are able to make the animal go back to feeding in at least 3 to 4 days time, or not later than that. If there is a delay in the feed going back to normal, it generally means that some survival has come down, or the animals are becoming weak, getting converted loose-shell, and then which makes them more susceptible to Zoothamnium infections. And then water exchange should also be need-based. Like if your the thickness of the water is well under control, and your Secchi disk values are above 30 to 35, you need not go for very frequent water exchange. But if it is your water is very thick, your algal bloom is very high, it would be better to have frequent water exchanges so that like the water is quite thin. And then good use of probiotics or regular use of probiotics also help in maintaining good water quality. You can also have good water levels so that uh, that there are less water quality fluctuations, which makes the animal generally healthy. Earlier, there were also some Zoothamnium inhibiting probiotics that were used, a species called Trichoderma. It is a fungus, so that has some Zoothamnium inhibiting properties, and that was used in some probiotics several years back. If the farmer is patient and he can use this regularly from the beginning of the crop, it can you still have some Zoothamnium here and there, but it never really goes to a very serious levels where it affects the animal's health. So mild Zoothamnium is visible, but it does not really blow up to large proportions in the pond. So such probiotics can be tried, and then it is also essential that we monitor the water quality of the creek at all times to check if the salinities have dropped, or to check if somebody has discharged water. And then the water quality of the creek is good. It is not very green or eutrophied. So all these aspects are to be taken into consideration, especially during the end of the crop. A lot of farmers harvest and discharge the water into the creeks, and this will have could probably have loads of Zoothamnium as well. So pumping that water and doing water exchange with that water does not make any sense unless you are able to pump that water into a treatment pond or reservoir and then treat it and then use it for your ponds. So monitoring creek water quality is also important. And as far as possible, do not allow salinity drop in ponds. So it is really found that say any salinity below 10, it is really very difficult to control Zoothamnium. But ideally, if you can maintain salinity, say 20 ppt or above, it is quite easy to control Zoothamnium, especially during the first 100 days or 120 days of culture. And then looking at the treatment methods, there are like farmers have several treatment methods available to try to control Zoothamnium now. So the first factor I would say that is important is to regularly check, monitor your check trace and do regular sampling so that Zoothamnium can be identified very early. So if you're able to identify this very early, you can start taking steps immediately and prevent it from increasing. So there are several treatment methods given, but I would suggest that you try to manage your entire crop with 0.2 and 3 only. So in our crop this year, in our farm this year, like we had to use some other kind of alternative treatment only for a few ponds during harvest, when like if you have small quantity or mild Zoothamnium, also the buyers object to that. So only at that time we had to use it, that too for a very few ponds. Almost the entire crop we could manage with 0.2 and 3. That is, we initially start with burnt lime at the dosage of 50 to 100 kilos per acre. So this is initiated when you initially first see Zoothamnium in your ponds. And then if you feel that there are chances of recurring again, you can sort of give this as a weekly dose every week. And then in case you find that in spite of burnt lime dose, you still have it is increasing a little bit, or you find that Zoothamnium levels is slightly higher, you can try to add along with the above dose of burnt lime, you can also mix bleaching powder at say about 5 to 10 kilos, or even up to 15 kilos per acre. Some farmers even go for higher doses up to 25 kilos per acre, but at certain times it is found to cause stress. So it would be ideal if you can finish or your entire crop with these two aspects alone. Other treatment methods include use of hydrogen peroxide that is found to reduce Zoothamnium to some extent, that at a dose of around 20 to 40 liter per acre. All these depends on you can vary the dosage depending on the level of Zoothamnium that you can that is present in your pond. Copper sulfate is also used, especially when your algal bloom is very thick. So when your algal bloom is thick, if you apply copper sulfate and it comes down, incidence of Zoothamnium also comes down to some extent. And then a good probiotic that actually upon application makes your water thin, that can also be tried on a regular basis to bring down Zoothamnium. And then formalin is another product that is widely used to control Zoothamnium. You can go at doses from 40 to 100 liter per acre, depending on the severity of the infection. So I was mentioning that initially you, in the early 30 to 40 days of culture, sometimes you get this gill choking or Zoothamnium in the gills of the animals causing mortality. So at that time, dose with formalin, say about 40 liter per acre, is found to actually completely get rid of the problem. Some farmers use a combination of copper sulfate and formalin as well. And we have other compounds also, like you would have heard the name called triazone, that is a stabilized peroxide based compound. It is considered as an oxidizer, ionizer, and ozonizer. So such products are also actually found to reduce Zoothamnium levels if used on a regular basis, weekly basis. If it is used, it is found to be very effective. Then the most popular now are actually trifurarin based compounds that I'm not very sure with regard to whether it is banned or not, but you have some products that are certified by CAA as well, that is available in the markets and is being widely used for Zoothamnium control. Then you have other aspects like other chemicals like zinc sulfate, which also especially in the first, if you have not applied any other chemical, zinc sulfate by itself can reduce Zoothamnium at a dosage of say 5 kilos per acre. But like when you have repeatedly used different chemicals and compounds, and then you have tried to control it once, twice, or thrice, and then you have exhausted all your options, then farmer go for the combination of chemicals mentioned in point 9. Like they go for zinc, detergent powder, and citric acid. Or sometimes some farmers switch sodium bicarbonate for citric acid as well. So this is also actually found to reduce Zoothamnium, but some farmers go for even higher densities, higher dosages of these chemicals. So these are some of the treatment methods that are in practice or available at the moment. But I would personally suggest that we try to do our best to prevent Zoothamnium using the various measures that I suggested earlier. And then during the crop, go for point number 2 and 3 only all through the crop without going for any other treatment, especially until harvest. So then you can ensure that use of these chemicals repeatedly is found to reduce survival rates also. So it is best to try to control using prevention methods and with burnt lime and bleaching all through the crop. So treating, this is my last slide, like treating Zoothamnium just before harvest. So harvesting a monodon without fungus has become now one of the most difficult aspects in monodon culture. Bios are very strict, and if they see any traces of Zoothamnium on the body of the animal, they write it down as PD, and then you are given only half the price of the price of the count that they offer. Also, like they are not very firm on the harvest dates. They confirm harvest for one particular day, and then when you are ready and your animals are clean, they suddenly say that they don't want the shrimp on that particular day. They ask you to wait for 2 days. And then when you wait for 2 days, either the Zoothamnium comes back or like the monodon, as you know, enters into the molting phase again. You start seeing some pre-molts and post-molts again, which is not acceptable to them. So some aspects that I would suggest is like when you are nearing harvest, monitor the molt status of the animal at all times by regular netting, maybe netting once in every 2 or 3 days, so that you can check the molt status of the animal at all times. And then when your animals have reached harvestable size, you provide samples, like potential buyers come and take samples from your ponds to check for antibiotics and dyes and things like that. So advise to provide them samples sufficiently early, maybe a week or 4 or 5 days before, so that they can confirm that it is okay. And then once you check the status of the animal, you can plan harvest. So ideal way to harvest a monodon would be immediately the week within just after a full moon or a new moon. So after a full moon or a new moon, to reach the next molting cycle, say Ashtami Navami, it takes about 8 days. So within this 8 days is the best period for you to harvest your ponds. So as soon as the full moon or new moon is over, you check the condition of the animal. And then depending on whether there is Zoothamnium present or absent, go for a treatment if needed. So sometimes it is, on most occasions, it is not necessary, but sometimes you see a little bit of Zoothamnium, and then it would be good if you can initially treat it with a dose of burnt lime and bleaching to reduce the load of Zoothamnium to a large extent, and then follow this up with any other kind of treatment that I had mentioned in the previous slide. So that is suitable for you. So initial treatment of burnt lime bleeding and followed by a treatment that is suitable for you. So if you have not used compounds like trifurarin or other heavy chemicals. Any mild treatment like after burnt lime or bleaching, a dose of formalin or a dose of hydrogen peroxide can easily clear off your Zoothamnium inside. But if you have already used all these chemicals more than 2 or 3 times, it becomes more and more difficult for you to do it. And it is important to keep in mind that once a treatment has been done and then it starts coming up again, it would be good to have a good water exchange before you go for the next treatment, so that you first bring down the load of Zoothamnium and then you treat it. So the chances of you to eliminate that is high. So it is actually a combination of several steps. One is preventing all through the crop through good measures, and then treatment. Practice very safe treatment methods. So then you can, just before harvest, you can do a netting and then ensure that the animal does not have, and then plan harvest according to that. Thank you. This is my presentation.
So excellent presentation, Jaideep Garu. You have got both theory and practice. That is why we have selected you. You're walking the talk. So
Thank you so much.
excellent presentation. If there are any questions, please unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Sir, Jaideep sir, excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Even though we were dealing with Zoothamnium in tiger during early 90s and all, after 2008, when I started, most of the farmers, even we forgot about Zoothamnium. But black tiger culture, there's imported, the domesticated, this one black tiger culture, when there's broodstock through these genetics when it started. So now again, slowly it is spreading, mainly in Gujarat or apart from AP. Mostly it is being, the culture of black tiger is being done in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. What we have observed is that growth rate compared to the earlier wild seed, now with the improved genetics, the growth rate is very high. But there are few doubts, like some farmers say that Zoothamnium comes because normally 2-3 genetics they say. One is from Madagascar, another is from Hawaii, like that. So they say that from, I don't want to mention the company name, this one. So they say that only from a specific genetic, the Zoothamnium comes, or from some other genetic backup, no, it doesn't come. Is it true or it is untrue?
Actually, the main factor is your water quality. If your water quality is not good enough, your animal can get affected. And some animals are strong and sturdy. Some genetics is very active. So those do not get affected with Zoothamnium easily. Whereas some is a little bit sluggish and slow. So they can get affected. But ultimately, it is the water quality in your pond that causes Zoothamnium. So genetics plays a small role. And then if you exploit that also well, you can actually prevent. So again, I'm not taking the names of the breeds or the strains, but like the farmer knows all these things. So the farmer is the best judge for this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any other questions? I think there is one question in the chat box.
Sir, I am Swami, sir. From Namanagada. Hello.
Yes, Swami.
సార్ ఇది మనం జుతామిన్ కంటిన్యూషన్ గా వాడుతూ ఉంటే ఆటోమేటిక్లీ కొంచెం క్వాలిటీ స్వీడ్ అయినప్పటికీ కూడా డ్రాప్ అవుతుందా సార్ నంబరింగ్ అనేది?
Yeah, there is a question on survival drop upon treatment.
Yeah, we have generally seen that during every treatment, especially if you use harmful or strong chemicals, a little bit of mortality happens. So this is there during every Zoothamnium treatment site. There are some animals that are weak, and ultimately these animals die. So definitely there will be if you have a repeated case of Zoothamnium happening in the same pond, definitely there will be a survival drop over a period of time. Again, this also depends on the genetics. Like um, some can withstand these chemical effects a little bit, some might not be able to. So it also depends on that as well. But treatment definitely affects survival. We have seen that very clearly.
సార్ అది మెజారిటీ అంటే ఆల్మోస్ట్ 50% అలాగా డ్రాప్ అవుతుంది సార్, లేదా 20%, 30% అలాగా?
లేదు 50 ఏమి డ్రాప్ అవ్వదండి. 50% ఏమి డ్రాప్ అవ్వదు. మనకి ఏదైనా 5%, 10% అలాగేమైనా లైట్ గా అయితే అవుతుంది. సపోజ్ మీకు బాగా ఇన్ఫెక్షన్ చాలా సివియర్ గా ఉంది, చాలా యానిమల్స్ వీక్ అయినాయి, ఆ టైంలో మీరు ఒక స్ట్రాంగ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఇచ్చారంటే 20% యానిమల్. బట్ జనరలీ అంత 20% అంతా ఏం అవ్వదండి. ఒక 5% ఇట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ గ్రాడ్యువలీ. మేబీ ఒక రోజు కూడా 1% అలాగ ఓవర్ ఎ పీరియడ్ ఆఫ్ టైం 4-5 రోజులు ఆర్ వారం 10 రోజులు అవుతుంది. సో సడన్ గా పోతుందంటే అదేదైనా సమ్ either your treatment dosage is very strong or your animals are very weak. Generally during regular thing ఒక 1%, 2% అలాగా స్లోగా గ్రాడ్యువలీ మీ సర్వైవల్ డ్రాప్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఈవెన్ మన నార్మల్ మోల్టింగ్ సైకిల్లోనే ఇన్ బ్లాక్ టైగర్ యూ సీ సమ్ మార్టాలిటీ డ్యూరింగ్ ఈచ్ మోల్టింగ్ సైకిల్ యాజ్ వెల్. బట్ ఇటువంటి ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఉంటే డెఫినెట్గా మార్టాలిటీ కొంచెం హైయర్గా ఉంటుంది. బట్ 50% అలా పోవడానికి అయితే ఒక ట్రీట్మెంట్లో అవకాశం లేదండి.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
So there is a question on hydrogen peroxide. Will it control Zoothamnium?
Yes, I said, like the first treatment is usually quite effective for any chemical you use. So you have not used any other chemical. You have just been going with burnt lime or burnt lime bleaching combination, and then you find that it's slightly more. Initially you go for this burnt lime bleaching, and the next dose you give hydrogen peroxide, and then you find that it is almost clear. So if at very low levels all these treatment work really well. So it is important to ensure that your Zoothamnium levels do not go beyond a certain level. Very important to keep that in check by regular treatment. So there are farmers, we ourselves in our own farm, so sometimes we go for this burnt lime bleaching dosage more than 2 times a week. And that really helps. Then sometimes you find that after that there is no Zoothamnium for say 1 week or 10 days. It is not there, and there is no need for us to use another dose the following week. If you follow that up with a good dose of probiotic and your water level is or your water color is very nice, it might not be necessary again. So hydrogen peroxide helps. Definitely it helps. So especially to keep it at minimum levels, maybe initial part and all, it is really helpful. Say till harvest, it is really useful.
Good. Charan, any comments?
Yeah,
Please.
thank you. It's very crispy presentation by Jaydeep.
Thanks.
Only 3 points I just wanted to give more importance, which is already Jaydeep is mentioned. One is that bleaching and burnt lime, generally we treat in the evening time, that people should treat in a proper way.
Yeah.
We treat in the evening time around 6 o'clock after the sunset. After that, there not be any feeding. And only the dew has to be taken care that night. Another one is the probiotic, but generally, when we are using a probiotic, slight crash will be there, the decent bloom will follow in the next day or day after day. As Jaydeep was mentioning, it is thinning the bloom. That we have to concentrate. The sense, people use generally so many different probiotics. which unqualified probiotic are, they may enhance the bloom. Very thick bloom will come. So again, the result which we want, that will not happen. So they have to concentrate on the product which gives a better bloom, a reduction or a thin bloom, and the next 2 days a decent bloom will be, the viscosity will reduce. That people have to, observe. Farmers has to observe and take that. Another, this is second point. Third one is chain drag. Chain dragging, it is from the beginning we were doing. If the people have started doing meticulously, regularly from the day one, or the first week itself, from the continuously every week, if they have started doing it, this problem is very well under control with all other management. This thing already Jaydeep is dealt very well. So I just wanted to stress on these 3 points. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Charan. So hope if there are Punavana garu? Hello.
Unmute.
Just I wanted to raise the question with Mr. Jaydeep.
Yeah.
The chair and sir clarified it. See, this regarding this chain dragging, some farmers know they do it only after 30-40 days. As Dr. Charan was telling, no, it has to be done right from the beginning. No, Jaydeep sir, we have to make it very clear to the farmers. No, they suddenly start after 50 days or 60 days. Once when the black soil is accumulated in the corners or center, no, they disturb the pond bottom. Instead of doing something good for the animals, no, they create some other problem. That is what we have observed.
Exactly. Exactly. So it is a practice that should be done right from the beginning. As you said, you begin, say, after 50 days when already 1 ton of feed has gone into the pond, a lot of sludge has accumulated in different areas. When you drag the chain, actually you are lifting all these gases into the water and then you are stressing the animals further. So, but if you practice this right from the beginning on a regular basis, say once a week or twice a week, continuously, then in fact, it is found to be really beneficial.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, sir. So any other question? Any other doubts? Sir, one more. Maybe out of this topic of Zoothamnium, people say that Tamil Nadu, I have seen some farmers, they go for higher feeding rate. See, normally we have seen that black tiger, no, every daily feed rate, DFR goes maximum of 50 or 60 kgs per day. But mainly in Tamil Nadu, okay, some farmers do it in Andhra also. Mainly in Tamil Nadu, I have seen some of our friends, they go up to 130 kgs, more than that also per day. When the animal average body weight at 25 grams or 30 grams, the consumption per lakh is, feed consumption per lakh, it goes beyond 100 kgs, 120 kgs, 130 kgs. And they say that they are getting growth of 5 grams or more than 4 grams or 5 grams and even 0.8 or 0.9 gram per day like that. They say that when the growth rate is at that extent, they don't get Zoothamnium. We feel that when you go for very high feeding, there is a chance of wastage. More feeding means more wastage. So definitely there is a chance of getting Zoothamnium. But they say that the molting frequency and everything will be speeded up. So the animals are growing more. So the animals are not giving the chance to the Zoothamnium to get infected. Your opinion on that? Yeah,
actually, that is true to some extent because the genetics of some animals is so advanced that it gives very high average daily growth. And if your feeding goes to very high levels, if you get a corresponding growth, then it is fine. If you don't get growth corresponding to that kind of feeding, then you are going feeding the pond more than it is excess feeding. But if you are getting a corresponding growth, I think it should be good enough. But when you feed 100 kilos per lakh per day, you should also ensure that your water quality and DO levels is good. So if that is done, then it should not be a problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jaydeep Garu. You have covered both prevention and treatment in detail, and different steps in treatment. It's very helpful for our farmers. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all for participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Yeah.
Thank